Hi there, this is James Swanwick, and you're listening to the Alcohol-Free Lifestyle Podcast, where you learn how to take back control over alcohol and live a life of health, wealth, love, and happiness.
Hi, I'm Eddie, and I'm 102 days alcohol-free as of today.
Eddie, congratulations. 102 days alcohol-free. How do you feel?
I feel great. I feel good. I feel more energetic. What can I say? I feel great is how I feel.
Oh, I love it.
Overall, great mood.
I love it. So we're talking to Eddie Dominguez, who's 67, and he is a restaurant owner from Nayarit, Mexico, which is about a 2-hour flight south of LA or a 2-day drive south of LA, about an hour north of Puerto Vallarta in Mexico. Eddie, you joined our 90-day program and have quit drinking now, and you're 102 days straight from alcohol. What was your drink of choice or your drinks of choice before you joined us?
Well, actually, having a restaurant, it was 3 drinks of choice. So afternoon tequila, then, evening cocktail, which would be usually a Manhattan, and then usually a bottle of, Cabernet Sauvignon with dinner. And that was like a daily practice. I hadn't even noticed that built into it over the last 10 years with the restaurant, but slowly built up. And I noticed that it became a habit more than a practice from the beginning. So I did the beginning of the year. I was looking to start off the new year, and I said, well, I got to take a break. And I found the 30-day. And so I did the 30-day. And while I was on it, I felt great. So I extended it to 6 weeks and then actually broke it with Valentine's Day. And then went back, and I wasn't back to the same as before. But that I said, wait a minute, I did well for 6 weeks. I should try 90-day. And in that same time that I was looking for a 90-day program myself, I noticed that there was a Project 90. So it fit perfectly for what I was up to.
Yeah, so just for context, for those if you're not quite understanding what Eddie's saying, he joined the 30-day no alcohol challenge program, which is what I have, which is a more of a do-it-yourself at home kind of thing. You get a video each day, and then as Eddie was saying, he I guess you could say fell off the wagon is the terminology, right? On Valentine's Day, you drank again, and then later on, you joined our 90-day and beyond program, which is named Project 90. So you said you were drinking tequila, Manhattans, and wine. You own a restaurant, so wine, all the alcohol is very prevalent. How long or how many years was this kind of lifestyle of drinking prevalent in your life, Eddie?
Well, actually, if I want to just think of the whole culture behind it, I did 25 years in television media. I ran 3 television stations in Southern California and San Francisco. And as part of the practice that we would have in terms of, I was a general manager, so I had my general sales manager taking out some of our top clients. We'd always take them out to dinner, and there'd always be cocktails and some of the best wines. And so it began it was part of the business. It was just what everybody did. And that went on for 25 years. But when I came here, and I decided, well, it's a small fishing village, or used to be a small fishing village, and what am I up to? And one of the things that I did enjoy was going out and eating out. So I began a restaurant and actually ended up with 2 restaurants. And it began slow. It was something that was overnight, just noticing it. It built up over the last 10 years. And it also becomes a place where a lot of expats during 6 months out of the year are here. And it's, well, let me invite you to a glass of wine. Let me invite you to a glass of wine. And so it's always in the background. So part celebration and people on vacation. And so it's just part of the culture. And I hadn't noticed immediately. I mean, once in a while, you'd say, well, I did too much last night, and, try to keep, just hold myself together. So it doesn't happen too often. And I'm very responsible. I own the restaurant. We have over 20 employees, and I'm very involved with community work with the Rotary Club. So, and when I was with the television stations, I always had a position of authority or power. So I was always publicly responsible in my drinking. But I noticed that over the last 10 years and being on a beach town, it got just a little bit out of hand. And I thought, wait a minute, I can't continue this way. I would have been turning 67, which I did. And I wanted to start getting myself back into shape at this age if I wanted to extend and have a longer, happier life, that would make a big difference. And so I took on the challenge, and I thought it worked perfectly. It worked perfectly, and I think one of the things that worked the most is that it wasn't. It's like Alcohol Anonymous never called to me. It didn't appeal to me. I didn't feel I was in that realm by any means. But I did feel that I needed some sort of support to not do it on my own. Doing it on my own is I have no one accountable. I'm not accountable to anyone. And doing it with a group, the support group, it's a way of sharing. And then I'm held accountable just by publicly speaking that this is what I'm going to be doing. And I think that makes a big difference. And so with the people that are also involved in the group, which many are business owners, entrepreneurs, people that are successful, they were like-minded people with similar interests. And I think that's what has made it a lot easier. I think when I finished my 90 days, someone asked me, and I said, oh, it was very quick, it was very easy. And then I realized that it's easy from the 90 points of view from the 90 days. But from day one, it seems that it's a long ways ahead. But once having reached that, somebody else challenged me afterwards and said, well, do another 90 days. And so I said, yeah, why not? It's perfect. So I've taken on another 90 days.
Oh, wonderful. And what were some of the noticeable changes that occurred during the 90 days? Or as you're sitting here now talking to me, what happened to you physically? What happened to you emotionally? What's happened to you professionally? Like what changes have happened during these 90 days?
So I think the biggest change is in my professional work, just being much more productive. And that has to do with having just more energy. I don't get up, it's sluggish and tired. I'm able to be much more focused. And so I'm able to accomplish a lot more of my commitments on a daily basis. I think that was the biggest change. The personal challenge that I had is that I also wanted to lose weight, which it looked like it was too far out to reach. But it did happen. It happened a little bit later on. So that was something that came out, one of the benefits that came out afterwards. But I know that the biggest benefit was just having much more clear and clarity and focus in what I'm doing and what I'm up to, and seeing that drinking got in the way, and noticing how much it got in the way. It wasn't just a little bit; it was quite a bit. And since I have quite a few commitments that I'm up to in life, it made a big difference. It happened that the pandemic hit at the same time, and being involved with Rotary, we began a fundraising program to solicit funds from Canada, from the US, to be able to provide food baskets on a weekly basis. And so to date, we've fed over 1,500 families. We've also helped with some soup kitchens that we're doing. So doing that, I have a construction project going on that I'm involved in, and that's coming along, managing that at the same time. And then managing 20 plus employees that were out of work, and how to still maintain them on salary, at least for part of those 3 months that we were off, and then preparing for post-COVID as we come back into business. And I'm not sure it might have been easy doing the old way. I would have just dragged myself so I wouldn't think about it. But I think this way was being very clear about it, much more clarity, much more focus. As I keep mentioning the same, but that's what comes up is what was very clear to me. And I think what helps a lot is working in groups and being on the phone calls with others that are also in the program. Drinking is one of the main issues, but I think what's really up to it, we're all people that are up to big things in life, and that comes up as a conversation, and the drinking gets in the way or got in the way, and I think that's what I see that becomes very valuable.
Yeah, wonderful. Tell us a little bit more about what happened with your weight and with
Well,
physically.
well, there's a couple of things. When I took on the program, I always liked metrics. I came out of corporate America, so I always do metrics. And so I did my cholesterol levels and dropped that down by 28 points. I had written that I wanted to swim at least 8 laps a day, 3 times a week. I ended up doing 20 laps a day every single day. But it built up. It didn't happen overnight. And so with the weight loss, it wasn't easy. I did start overeating a bit, and maybe it was just the same anxiety or substitute. But as I heard others in the group talking about it, I was just much more conscious of it. And then I wouldn't say miraculously, but the last 90 days, it began to shed off much, much faster. And I also began to put much more focus on it in terms of what I was eating, keeping a food log of what I was eating. So just being much more conscious of that. And that made a big difference. I think as I go into my next 90 days, that could now be a bigger focus than it was the first 90. The first 90 was just no alcohol. And that has made a big difference.
I don't know if you're being deliberately cagey, Eddie, but you haven't told us how much weight you lost.
Oh, 15 pounds. So it didn't move from like 3 or 4 pounds for the first 6 weeks or so, and then I didn't want to get back on the scale until just 2 weeks before, and then I noticed that I dropped down to 10 or 11, and then the last 2 weeks the other 4 pounds came off. So yeah,
I love that. So why don't you just say this? Just say, in 90 days I lost 15 pounds. Just say that.
So in 90 days I lost 15 pounds. That's 5 pounds a month.
Amazing.
No, that's more. Yeah.
Yeah, good on you, mate. It's incredible. And then what happened with your cholesterol? You said that you dropped 28 points. So just tell us what happened with that. Your cholesterol went from where to where?
So from 188 to 160.
So I'm sorry. So your cholesterol went from where? Sorry.
From 188 or 190. And I got confused. Now I don't have it in front of me. Or 198 to 160. When it was 20, so that was 70, 88. Yeah, 160 to 188. So actually, the other way around. Sorry, 188 to 160.
Oh, I love that. So just for the, I know that if you're listening on the podcast now, you're understanding this, but just for the benefit, can you just say my cholesterol went from 188 to 160?
So my cholesterol dropped from 188 to 160 just by not drinking.
So good. I love that. So your cholesterol dropped from 188 to 160. You dropped 15 pounds. Any other markers? Any other noticeable markers?
I think those are the exercise, the increase in the amount of exercise that I had set out to do. So I surpassed it. I didn't put any amount of dropping my cholesterol, but it was 28 points, which is pretty phenomenal. I've done statins before, and it takes a year to just maintain it. It only drops 2, 3, 4 points at a time. So that drop made a big difference. And I don't have the triglycerides, but that one was huge. That one was also huge. It went down, I want to say like 50 points. So those are markers that I didn't expect, but I was very pleasantly surprised with the results.
So you said your triglycerides went down about 50 points. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
I'm just going to get you to say that, actually. So can you just say my triglycerides went down about 50 points?
My triglycerides went down about 50 points.
Incredible.
So my cholesterol went down, my triglycerides went down.
Yeah, amazing.
And that's just from stopping drinking.
Yeah, incredible. I know if you're listening on the podcast, the reason I'm asking Eddie to do this is because we're going to take a little recording of some of these things that he's saying and stick it in a case study video. And so rather than him having him say, oh yeah, it went down from 188 to 160, I'm trying to get him to say, my cholesterol went down from 188 to 160. So when I insert that section into a little video we're going to make about him, the viewer understands exactly what we're talking about. So we're doing some video editing and directing as we're doing this interview, Eddie. You used to run TV stations, right? You know all about this.
I was going to say, I know. I said I should have prepared for that. I exactly what you're saying. This is exactly what we did for 25 years. I did for 25 years, so I know exactly what you're talking about, and I didn't think about it beforehand.
All good. And so what have people said to you or noticed about you since you've been on this alcohol-free journey?
Just the compliment I get the most is you look great. Your skin is changed. There's a certain glow in your look. And then they notice the weight. The weight, I tend to be a lot more telling myself, so I don't see it the same way. It's like until I get on the scale and then I notice it. But people have mentioned it. But what comes out the most, and they mention the most, is what a difference. You look great. Your face looks great. And what they don't say, what I imagine, is that it's not puffy and swollen as it probably is in some of the old photographs. So physically, that's what they can see.
You mentioned to me a couple of weeks ago that you had a conversation, I think, with your godson, and he had referenced something about you not drinking. Would you like to share that story?
Yeah. So I have a restaurant, and my godson, who's named after me, Eddie, he works as a waiter at the restaurant, and he took drinks at the table, and then he asked me, and I said, "Well, I'll have a mineral water with little lime." He said, he asked me, he goes, "Are you ever going to drink alcohol again?" And it took me by surprise, because out of nowhere, he just asked, because he's noticed that over the last few months, there's been no alcohol at all. And so it made me think, and how long has this been in his mind prior to the 90 days? And so he noticed it without me having to share anything with him, just noticing at dinners at home and at the restaurant that I haven't been drinking anything, any alcohol, not anything. I haven't drinking anything. I've been alcohol free the last 90 days. Well, now 102 days. So that just made me think, how many more people have I influenced and have had in my life that noticed my drinking, and I wasn't being responsible for it. And so they're able to notice it now just by me not drinking.
How did your sleep change? How did your energy levels change over the 90 days?
My sleep level, I'm not sure. I think I tend to have a restless sleep. So I don't think that was any major change that I noticed. What I do notice is that I'm able to accomplish a lot more in the day. And that just means me having more energy during the whole day. But my sleep, I think I tend to stay up late, except now it's, with water versus drinking something late at night. So I think that has more to do with my sleeping pattern than just drinking. But what does make a difference is that I'm up in the morning a lot more peppier, more energy than I had been in the past. So that's without a doubt. That's the huge difference.
What is your intention now with your drinking? I know you mentioned someone's challenged you to go another 90 days, but let's assume that happens. What do you think is your long-term vision for your drinking habits?
Well, my long-term vision is, how should I say this? I don't have a goal of never drinking again, but I don't want to start drinking anywhere in the near future. Maybe I'll go another 90 days after the 90, because I want to make sure that I'm responsible for it should I ever decide to do it again. But at this point, it's another 90 days, and with the possibility of another 90 days after that. I'll take it 90 days at a time. So
yeah, wonderful.
That's where I'm at.
And we saw you as part of the 90-day program that I have. We have a Marco Polo group, which means people can send little video messages to one another, to other members who are also doing their 90 days. And you very kindly shared a Marco Polo video message a few days ago when you met up with one of your fellow Project 90 members, Roseanne. Tell us a little bit about that story and how you had connected with her, I guess, virtually on some of the video Zoom calls for 3 months, and then finally you got to meet one of the other members in person.
So interestingly enough, on one of the Zoom calls, sometimes getting on the Zoom call early, we have a little bit of conversation. And where do you live and where do I live? And she said, I live in Yuma, Arizona. And I said, oh, well, I live in Mexico. And so we've known each other now pretty much the last 90 days, 3 months that we've seen each other on the Zoom calls, and then sharing on the Marco Polo. And Roseanne shares quite a bit on Marco Polo. She's a great person to contribute and to share a lot that's going on. And so I wrote, how did I write? I think I wrote in the Facebook, I wrote her a note, said, I just passed by Yuma on my way to Los Angeles. And she said, well, you should let me know. You could have stopped by. So it was a short trip in Los Angeles, 3 days. And so on my way back, I wrote her a note. She said, you must stop by. Even if you don't have time, just pull off. We'll meet at right at the Circle K, right off the freeway, and we got to just meet each other. And it's a 2-day drive, so I'm always very focused. But I said, yeah. So I pulled off, and we met each other, and it was instant. It's like somebody I've known virtually for 3 months, but it was like somebody that I've known all my life coming into contact with each other. There's a humanity, a relationship that is built up over this time, and it's a shared relationship of people that we have one goal in common that brought us together, which is being alcohol free. But I think we've been able to share that with people that are committed to our lives, to our families' lives, to better relationships, to being better persons in our communities, and in the businesses or ventures that we take on in life. And so it was a wonderful idea that she had. We did a Marco Polo together, which is a wonderful app that works. It's a great way to stay in communication with your friends. And we received a lot of response from the rest of the group that are in the Project 90 group, as well as on the Facebook page that we have for Project 90.
Love that. I was thrilled to see that video. And you were literally driving on your way back to Mexico,
That's it.
Wow. And she
just right off the road.
Did you have to deviate much to meet her? Or did she have to come far to meet you, or did it all work out pretty perfectly?
She's she said she's a mile from the exit. And she said, I knew that if I would accept the invitation to her house, it would have been 2 or 3 hours. And I had to make the border before nightfall because then we have to, anyway, it's too complicated to go through. But no, she met me. She said, get off at this exit, go around the traffic circle. There's the Circle K, and I'll be right there. And there she was. It's literally less than 5 minutes from her house.
Wow.
So it was great.
Amazing.
And so we made a promise that next time I go, I will set the time aside to be able to visit properly.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Eddie, congratulations on being 102 days alcohol free as we're recording this. I'm sure as someone is listening to this or watching this later on, they're going to be curious as to where you are on your alcohol free journey, because someone might listen to this 6 months later and go, I wonder if he's still alcohol free. Maybe you will be. I'm pretty confident you will.
Yeah, maybe I will.
Yeah, you just accepted someone's challenge to do 90 days. And then, 5 minutes ago, you said, oh, maybe I'll do 90 days after that as well.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone?
That's a very good possibility.
What would you say to someone who's listening or watching right now, who's maybe considering they're probably considering one of two things. One is trying to do it on their own with willpower and trying to quit and be really motivated but ultimately doing it on their own, or doing it with some coaching and accountability and support, which it seems like you got when you joined the 90-day program. So what would you say to that person?
So I would say two things. Doing it on your own, I tended to have the recurring thought of saying, well, I will start doing it after there's an event coming up, there's a birthday coming up, oh, there's so-and-so's wedding, oh no, there's an anniversary. So there's always an excuse to postpone it and put it off because there's a celebration that's going on. And so if you stay in your own head by yourself, that the tendency for that to happen will probably happen much more often. Making a commitment with where you're accountable to a whole group of people that are also making the same commitment, and that you're open for coaching. So you have to be open to receive coaching. You just not just somebody telling you what to do. There's a conversation that goes on. Makes a huge difference. It makes you. It helps you, and that makes you. It helps you reflect on what it is that you're doing and why it is that you're doing, and why you're making this decision. Each of us that come into the program do it for a different reason, although some reasons can be the same. A lot of them is relationship. A lot of it is relationship, both with your spouse, with your children, with your co-workers. A lot of it is for health, and a lot of it is for business. If you're up to big things in business, that you need to have much more focus and clarity. But it's a huge difference doing it on your own than doing it with a group, where accountability is a big difference. Saying it to, well, I don't know what number of people are in the program, but they're all listening in at one point or another. And so we know who's staying on course and who's not, which I'd like to say, there's a few people that broke and had a reset. And that was very powerful when they share. because it shows the humanity that each person is, and how frail it is, and how important it is to get the support of all the others in the group, and having that person come back on track and coming back stronger. And their sharing made a huge difference in the success that each one of us have had in completing those 90 days. And then since then, a lot of them have completed their 90 days. But I think that was very powerful to be in a group like that.
Eddie Dominguez, 67, from Nayarit, Mexico. Congratulations once again. Thank you so much for being such a powerful influence and force in the group as well. Thank you for sharing and for helping others. I always say when people first join, they're very much the student, and as they go along, they become the teacher, because people join, on their first week or their second week, and you're now on, day 70 or day 80 or day 90. Just you sharing what worked for you ends up helping others. So thank you for being a great student, and then thank you for being a great teacher as well by consistently sharing in Marco Polo and in the Facebook group and turning up to the calls and supporting other people and asking questions. I so appreciate you, sir.
And James, thank you. I think one of the things I didn't say earlier was in the beginning part of the program, I think the first 3 weeks or so, I wrote an email and asking, well, what else is there? And having it in front of me and being available the first 3 weeks and not noticing it. And you just pointed out, well, how is it that we can help you? You have your calls, you have your coaching calls, you have your videos, we do our gratitudes. And actually it was re-inviting me to engage. And that re-invitation to engage made all the difference and made that huge leap forward in being able to achieve the 90 days and making the 90 days go by much faster and much more successfully for myself. So I want to thank you for that.
You're welcome, Eddie. Thank you, sir. I so appreciate you, and congratulations again. And I wish you the best on your alcohol-free journey.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. I have some free stuff for you. If you go to jamesswanwick.com/guide, I will send you my formula for reducing or quitting alcohol. If you'd like to watch the video versions of these episodes, then you can watch them at my YouTube channel, which is at James Swanwick. If you'd like to send me a direct message on Instagram, you can do so at James Swanwick. If you would like to try a 3-day challenge, a free 3-day challenge, you can go to jamesswanwick.com/3-day challenge. If you would like to try the 30-day no alcohol challenge, you can go to 30-day no alcohol challenge. If you would like to schedule a 15-minute exploratory call with one of my coaches to see how we may be able to help you in your alcohol-free journey, you can go to jamesswanwick.com/schedule. And my request is, if indeed you enjoyed this episode or you have enjoyed the podcast, would you please go ahead and rate the show in iTunes, and would you please write a review? A review might just be a sentence saying, great listen, hey, this was fantastic. Oh, I really enjoyed this. Whenever you give a rating, whenever you write a review, it surges our podcast up in the rankings, enabling more people to see it and hear it, and potentially inspiring someone out there to reduce or quit alcohol and potentially transform their life. So yes, while it does help me to get ratings and to get reviews, you will actually be directly contributing to helping someone's life by having them discover this podcast. So if you are open to inspiring others and to helping me in the process, would you please go ahead and give this episode a ranking, and would you please write a review? Thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you on the next one.